How's it going to watching today with another video, and today guys what to bring to you is how to improve the player part 2. Now I do just want to take a moment and thank you all so very much. This whole experience on YouTube has been fantastic, and just meeting all of you has been a really good time. Honestly, it's just a really humbling experience to see how many people really are improving at the game and getting better every day. So these videos are not going to stop coming. There's going to be more and more tips and more tricks to really just improve at the game, improving as a player even. And so today I really want to just kind of pinpoint a couple things that are very much so not talked about, and things that I honestly think about a lot, because I think these are the little things that can make you that much of a better player over your opponent. So the first thing I want to bring up today is about preventative cards. And if you don't know what a preventative card is, it's more so like your droplets, your dark rulers, your hand traps, and it's talking about ratios, because a lot of people will play decks that have like 15 hand traps, or not enough hand traps versus what you're trying to play versus like combo or control. And we're going to be talking about the correct ratios today and what I think you should be playing versus what people are playing. So what I mean by this is, so I have a really good example about Dragon. So back when we had Link Cross and LP, Dragon had a bunch of hand traps in the deck. This one in particular, they played 50 cards just to mitigate the problem where if you played against other Dragon lists, you didn't instantly lose to not seeing a hand trap. So we did play about 50 cards just to make sure that we didn't lose to like the smoke grenade package, or what have you. So nowadays, we see the list being very much so matched together into 40 cards with some hand traps here, Nibiru, Phantasme, some Meisters, Imperms, and the Gammas, which is still a lot, but it kind of makes sense with the deck though, right? Because as we discussed in the last time we talked about Dragon, is that Chaotic Ruler can mill you into hand traps that are relevant and they can actually be played already. So it's a quick way to at least like search them. And also you have so many engine pieces in this that it doesn't really matter, right? The problem with this comes where you're playing a deck, let's say you have way too many preventative cards in it. So you're playing like a striker list with like 2 lines of hand traps in it. I've seen it. They have like 15. It's a lot of hand traps. But so I know there's going to be some people saying like, but wait, those lists have actually done very well. And that may be true, but it's also very results-based testing from what I've seen. And so one thing that I want to say about that from myself, who's played the deck for a very long time, is where if you only see like 4 hand traps in Ray, you have no engine. So your preventative goes way up, but your engine goes way down. So if you hand trap them even 3 times, all right, and then you're stuck with a hand trap, Ray, and then whatever you top deck, you go normal summon Ray, and then they imperm like your Hayate, you have 0 access to engine, and you're way behind your opponent. Because if you hand trap them 3 times, you were absolutely playing against combo. And so if it's like Adamant Pit or Rocks or Drytron, who can just full combo you the next turn, it's going to be a bad time because they have so much that they can do, especially Drytron, and you have 1 hand trap guaranteed to even deal with their board that they're going to be trying to make. So to me, I feel like you should be playing more engine instead of preventative cards, because if you played more spells, you'd be able to crack a board, you'd be able to set up your own board, and really be able to play into them because you'd hit spell count faster, which if you don't know what spell count means, in Striker, that just means having 3 spells in the graveyard, so you get full activations out of your spell cards. And so basically when we see decks like Dragon, they have enough engine pieces and enough starters that playing that many hand traps in 40 cards is honestly just very consistent, and it doesn't really matter that you play more hand traps. Also because they're also like pseudo searchable. So that's very important too. So what I want to touch on here is the fact that like your typical control deck is going to have 0 to 3 hand traps. Usually that means either Ash or Imperm. You'll find some that play 6 and they'll play both. But typically in control, you'll find 3 Ash or 3 Imperm, and that's perfectly fine. I feel like that ratio is A-okay. Certain control decks you'll see play a little bit more, but like you'll never see a control deck play like a Valor. You'll never see them play like Bell, Meister, because they're more so focused on like their trap cards and the cards that allow them to control like a Floodgate. So then we see like combo where they usually play like 8. And so the reason being is that you have like your 3 and your 3, which is usually like Ash Imperm, and then they'll play another 2. So this kind of ties into where I was talking about like siding and 6 cards to be sided in, because you want to see like your side and you also want to see your engine. So this kind of tips the scales more toward your hand traps. So you'll see like more hand traps and a little less engine. But in decks like Dragon, where you have so many starters, seeing the extra hand trap in your hand where you guarantee like 2 and then you have like 3 engine cards is actually just fine. Because when you're going second, then your opponent gets hand trapped like twice. You're drawing into another card to use for your like combo, and that means you have like 4 engine pieces and 2 hand traps. So you just prevented your opponent's board, and then you also have like enough combo to like kill them. And that's what's really important about understanding the correct amount of hand traps, because let's say the hand was like 3 hand traps or maybe 4, and then you only have 2 starters. If they imperm or like stop your starter and then they full combo you back, like you just lose. So like the less preventative you play, the better off that you'll be in the long run. And again, that's just why they play 8. That's kind of like the math behind it, is that it tips the scales to the favor of hand traps. So you'll see like 2, and then you also see like 4 engine cards, which is just fantastic to do. And I see this happen a lot, but I very much so am a fan of playing 8 hand traps usually in combo. And now there's like a different type of deck that we're going to be talking about, that Striker falls under. Also Tri-Brigade and Virtual World, and that's the decks that are considered combo control. What I mean by that is the decks that play like really like 6 to 8, but mostly 8 hand traps, or like 15. So you have decks like Tri-Brigade that play like 15 all the time with crossout, and that's perfectly okay with them because they play the crossout. I would prefer to see less and maybe more on the trap cards. I've been seeing a lot of the builds with like the full Solemn Brigade lately, which has actually been very interesting to see. I've seen builds with like 2 warning, 2 judgment, 2 strike, which honestly doesn't seem the worst, just to be putting amongst your other combo cards you already have. So that's just something to keep in mind as far as innovation goes with the deck moving forward. Especially with like Flunderies, right? And trying to like stop the normal summon. I could see that being really nice. But then you also have like a Virtual World who never really goes past 6 or 8. Sometimes they play like 7 because they play like Gamma and then like 3 others. Then you have like Sky Striker that can play like 15. And so I always try to like steer people away from playing like 12 plus, because even with these decks playing like that many hand traps, the only one that can kind of go away with it is like Tri-Brigade. But like you still want enough engine to where like if your opponent stops you, that's why a lot of people are playing like Bird Up now, because you have more engine pieces that you can play and you can keep comboing through your opponent's interruptions, which is honestly very important. And then playing the Bird Up in the Tri-Brigade deck also allows you to put up an early Appaloosa before you use the first normal summon Tri-Brigade effect, which is really nice as well. So that's just something to keep in mind, is that like these certain decks can play this many hand traps, but always try to not do this because you're not playing enough engine when you do that. And yes, you can kind of get a win here and there when you're playing a lot of hand traps, but like I don't really find this too necessary. And the only builds that actually do that in Striker are usually the ones that are playing Hulk Celine. And I also just think that's very hand trappable and gets stopped very easily. So that's why I like to play things like Underworld Goddess, Unicorn, cards that break the board and naturally will grow your card advantage. So moving forward off of this, I want to say to just stick to one deck. So sticking to one deck is very important, because if you just keep on picking like your tier 1 or your tier 2 deck, whichever one you've been playing for a long time, and then you really upgrade it with new sets that come out, you really take the time to learn it and learn how it fits into the format, all the cool counters that you can make to other decks. These are the decks that will really do well and really shine. So even like Striker, like I was really big on playing Flunder or Sword Soul, but now that I'm seeing DPE and really understanding how the deck works around this card, I feel like that Striker is that much more advanced moving forward into this format that I may just stick with Striker, because this card alone just really breaks the deck that much further. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like honestly, the next best deck is still going to be Dragon. This coming format, Dragon is the most consistent. It's about to be really cheap, honestly, because Chamber's getting reprinted. So this deck alone just has enough gas, and it can play a lot of preventative cards. It can really grind with your opponent. There's not a lot of downsides to Dragon, except that it's a fishbowl deck now. But other than that, like the deck has a lot of relevant tops. It shows every single format that it's still a contender. And there's going to be a lot of people who don't even understand like what these decks do yet. So that's going to be a really big thing for it. And also they have no support yet. They're just like their bland decks that they are coming over to us right now. And so we see a lot of things that happen with this, like with Adagnister, and why no one plays that is because everyone gets bored of the current meta decks, and so they start switching to new decks, and that's why Sword Soul and Flunder are so hyped, because people just want to play something new. It doesn't really mean that they're going to be that great. It just means that people really just honestly want to play something new. So like even Adagnister, right? Like that deck is an insane powerhouse, but like no one plays it right now because they're bored of it. And so that's kind of where we're at with Dragon, but like Dragon's honestly still going to be the best deck next format regardless. Like again, the deck has insane playability, can break boards, it can kill very fast. Very big fan of Dragon. If you're confident with your deck and you're really comfortable with how it plays, stick to that deck, stick it out, play it in the new format, see how it works, and just kind of stick with the deck that you know will do well with you. And don't like try to force yourself to like learn a new deck just because it's coming out. There's going to be a lot of new decks that come out, but that doesn't always mean that it's worth for you to play them, because maybe you're better with the deck that you're already playing. So this is just food for thought. The next thing is play the quick row, back row outs, because these are really important, because like if they have anti-spell and they flip it in standby phase and you're just staring at your Storm or Duster, like it's really unfortunate, and those decks that are really afraid of these cards will have the anti-spell or the IO. So I really prefer the cards that are chainable, because if you activate a different spell and you can draw out that IO, then you can just go ahead and chain the Cosmic or the Twin. And really be able to shut your opponent down ASAP, versus having like the Dust or the Storm that are just honestly very slow. Even Storm in general, going second in games 2 and 3, a lot of times they'll just put their monsters in defense to play around this, which is very common. So I'd keep that in the back of your mind too, just because this is just a very common act to do. And then again, the Storm and Duster are just very, very slow in the format versus Cosmic and Twin, where they have the cool little squiggly line up here that say that they're good. To be completely honest, quick play is over the normal spells all day long. Nothing much more to say about that, but again, just anti-spell and standby phase this versus this all day long. So know your specific interactions. I'm going to be saying a couple of these over and over just so I can kind of like make everyone understand these. For the one being Ray and Rose, if you have like the Ray coming back on the field on your opponent's side, and then you're summoning back your Rose can negate the Ray before they can chain the Ray, because the Rose is all one effect. That's very important to know. That's why early Rose in the graveyard against the Striker Mirror is very, very important. And the other one is Heretic Seal versus Chuche. If they use Lulu in the hand to target their Chuche, and then you go Heretic Seal, bounce the Chuche, they won't get the summon of Lulu. It checks on resolution, so it'll notice that the target isn't on the field, and then they will not be able to summon their Lulu. And then you'll go ahead and summon whatever you want from the deck, right? So that's always very nice. And then they can't use their Lulu again that turn. So it's just a very, very nice way to look at how to beat this matchup. Very, very cool interaction. I actually didn't know until about a week ago. So there you go, something new, if you didn't already know that. The next two is something that I also didn't know right away, is that you can't use Droplet on the face-up flow under ease like small birds on the field. They specifically have to get banished, and then Droplet will try to send them to the grave as a cost, and it cannot do that. So you cannot send them with Droplet unless they're face down or if they're in your hand. So do not get someone misplaying on you with this. This is just something you cannot do. The other thing is evenly matched versus tokens on the field. You cannot banish tokens face down, so they would have to banish all other cards on their board to equal the number, which is very nice as well. With Sword Soul coming up, this is a very nice interaction to know. With evenly matched, this is actually kind of correct. This is a very nice one to know. Again, you cannot banish tokens face down, so evenly matched comes very much so in clutch here. Moving on, learning what win more cards are. I really feel like this is very important to talk about, because win more cards are something that I don't really feel like many people know what that means. And so basically, we don't play Dragoon anymore in Virtual World. I see a lot of people playing Caliga now, and that's because Dragoon doesn't get like its burn effect anyways when you summon it off like the Mud Dragon. And then it's not like as good as it would be. It's kind of just like a tower, and makes it a bit win more, because it doesn't really do much for you outside of the fact that it can kind of cheese you a win here or there, where things like Caliga can just straight up win you games over and over because of its effect is so crazy. I prefer Caliga. Another really good example is before we got Cupid Pitch, because it's coming out in like a day, and you couldn't like search Corridor. There's a card called Nemesis Corridor, and this is a really good example of win more, is that if you were playing like Dark Warrior, right, you banish malicious and you summon a malicious, and then you would use corridor to return a malicious that's banished, and then summon corridor, and then you're able to summon out another malicious, right? Because you were able to send the other one back. That is an example of a win more card. If you just played it just in hopes that you drew it, and if you didn't see it, then you didn't really miss it, or if you did see it, then you're like, wow, that's broken, you know? Those are things in general that you just don't need to play, because again, they're just a win more. So I hope that it makes that a little more clear for you. Just basically cards that don't overall increase your consistency, nor do they get you to the goal of what the deck's trying to do. They're just kind of in the deck. So like if it's like a non-searchable one of, a lot of times those are just win more too, because they're just kind of there to kind of cheese you a win here or there. Now, I do want to just touch on my 5K subscriber special tourney. I do want to just formally apologize too for the amount of time that's taken for me to get this together. But it has been a bit of a struggle in the back end, but I do have it all figured out now and how I want to go about this. This will be a lot of fun, I hope, for everyone. I do have all my pricing figured out and how I want to go about this. So let's dip into a little bit of information about my tournament and how this is going to go. I do just want to take a moment again to say thank you all for letting me hit 5,000 subscribers. You were all champions, and I just can't wait to see how much more we grow moving forward. So first place is going to be a box of Bode. I decided this one, I think this will be really cool because Burst is a huge anticipated set. It's a very, very cool set, so I hope that you guys enjoyed that as the first place prize. Second and third are going to be getting 2 Megatons apiece. So that'll be really cool. Hopefully you get your crossouts, and then fourth place will get your imperms and your Cyber Strike structure deck. So I do hope that all these are very nice for you to come out and compete. Again, this whole tourney is really just to celebrate hitting 5K. Again, without you guys, I wouldn't be able to hit that. So I really do appreciate you all. A little bit information about the tourney. This event will be held on DB. This event will be on November 13th at 10 a.m. EST. I'm just going to say that one more time. It's going to be on DB, Dueling Book, November 13th, 10 a.m. EST. There will be an entry of $5. Some of the proceeds of this will be going toward my field center and my mat production for my very first time trying to go about that. So I do hope that you're all excited for that. I have a lot of very cool ideas on how I want to go about that too, to really start being able to get you all merchandise for the channel. You guys can all rock the GG gear, you know. I think that'd be really cool, at least a field center, you know, to be able to start using that. A little bit more information. We're capping this at 150 players just because I want to do 200, but I think 150 is something I'm comfortable with after this is my first like big tourney that I'm actually doing. I also am co-casting this with Logan JYA. If you guys have not heard of him yet, go over to his Twitch, on his YouTube as well. Go check out his content. Really cool guy. I do appreciate him for coming out to the tourney moving forward and co-casting this with me. I think it'd be really fun to have another commentator on some of these matches just so we can kind of go a little bit deeper into what's really going on when we're watching them. And so the way that you can join the tourney, so I do want to make a comment on this. Since I am doing like actual prizing and not like cash or anything, that this will be USA locked. I do apologize about that, but this is like my first time trying to organize a really big tourney, so I think it would be better off if it is just like USA locked, just so I can like send it within the USA. If you do want to join this tourney though, go to the description and join the Discord. So in the Discord, you can DM me personally. Do be wary that I do work a lot, so I will be looking at my DMs over the next 2 weeks. Over the next 2 weeks, to really be able to respond to everyone. So you're going to DM me on Discord, and then you will send me your entry and your deck list, because when you DM me, I'll give you my PayPal, and then you'll be able to send it. And then your deck list, which is just going to be a download file from Dueling Book, just to make it easier on everyone. So we also just have all those deck lists laid out. I might make like a cool video or something talking about like all the coolest deck lists from the event as well, because I think that'd be a lot of fun. So this will be a lot of fun, I think, guys. Again, it's gonna be on Dueling Book, November 13th, 10 a.m. EST. Entry is gonna be $5. And again, this will be USA locked. Again, I do apologize about that. It's just my very first tournament I'm doing. Like, actual prizing and not like cash. So this will be a lot easier on myself as far as my first ventures into this. So I do hope that everyone's excited for that. If you are new here, like, comment, subscribe. I always love doing a lot of videos about just teaching the game and really helping people understand at a more competitive level. This is something that I've been doing for a very long time, and I'm really happy that I have the audience now to really be able to get my message across and really help people that really need the help. My next video. So what I want you all to do is comment down below a question that you have for me, because my next video is actually going to be a Q&A. So if you have anything you want to know, my favorite deck, my thoughts on the next format, what I'm going to be using in Striker, budget options, anything that you have for a question, I'm going to be picking them at random and really just answering them all in one big video to help clear up anything that you guys would like to know. So I hope that everyone has a wonderful night, and I'm really excited for the tournament. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to be this big on YouTube so far, and let's just keep the family growing, and let's keep everyone learning. Honestly, I'm really excited. So everyone have a wonderful night, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Thank you.